Hey guys, what's up, Zyphlin here, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about my SARYN Prime or regular SARYN Spore build. I've seen a lot of people asking for this in the comment section of my last video where I talked about the weapon platform SARYN build, so I figured that today's video would just be a follow-up going over my new and improved Spore build for SARYN. So if we hop over into the arsenal real fast, for those of you who don't know, SARYN is probably the best AoE damage dealing frame in the game. You can cast her first ability on an enemy, kill or damage that enemy. The first ability is going to spread. It's a damage over time, so the longer it is up, the more damage it is going to deal. So this build is centered around making the most out of that first ability while also taking into consideration the third ability and the fourth ability. So to get out of the way, I have subsumed Pillage over Molt on this build. Molt is a really good ability for shield gating, right? Especially if you're using the likes of Brief Respite in the aura. But because we're not using Brief Respite in the aura slot of the build, I went ahead and I put on Pillage, right? So if you don't know what shield gating is, it is essentially whenever you have full shields, if you take damage that would otherwise bleed into your health, your shield is going to absorb it, right? And you're going to have a brief period of invulnerability. So Pillage basically is that. You press 2 and all the enemies get affected by it and you get shields for it, which is great. It also doubles as a shield strip and an armor strip, which is very nice. It's not going to completely strip away the shields or armor of enemies with the build that we're rocking today, but it is pretty damn good at just reducing some of the enemy's defenses and giving you more defenses. So that's why that is on this build. So the rest of the build is essentially just strength with decent range and decent duration. A little bit of efficiency on there. So let's go over all of the mods. Number 1 Testify for strength. Blind Rage and Transient Fortitude for the same. Overextend and Stretch for range. Streamline for efficiency. You can swap that out for Prime Flow. Rolling Guard for defense. Prime Sure Footed to keep us alive instead of, dying to knockdowns. Did I go over Probably Cut the Duty? Probably Cut the Duty for duration. And enemy radar on here, so we know where the enemies are, so then we can, either recast our spores on an enemy, or we can kill the enemy that is already affected by spores near more. It's basically just a matter of looking at your minimap and knowing where the enemies are, right? Arcane Energize for energy, and then Arcane Acceleration. This is just sort of like my my gun Arcane, which I can swap out from time to time. You can run anything in this Arcane slot, right? Prime Sure Footed can be replaced for Handspring. Streamline, like I said, you can replace that for, Prime Flow, regular flow, etc. Prime Cut the Duty, you can replace that for regular Cut the Duty or any other duration mod if you don't happen to have that. And that is pretty much the build. It is very straightforward. Range, strength, duration, a little bit of efficiency. So let's talk about how it actually works. So what we want to do, we're going to spawn in some heavy gunners here. Get ourselves some energy. And I'm mainly just going to be showing off the 1, the 3, and the 4 in this demonstration. The 2 doesn't really matter that much because it's just like if we take damage to our shields, we press 2, and there we go, we get more shields back, right? So that's going to reduce our armor as well. So essentially what you want to do is you want to have Toxic Lash up at all times. So that is your third ability. Make sure that is up all the time, no matter what. You cast your spores on one bad guy, and then you shoot that bad guy, and all of the spores are going to spread to enemies within the radius of that one bad guy that you originally cast the spores on, right? And you can see down the bottom right-hand corner, the spores damage is ticking up and up and up and up and up. So the longer we have spores on the enemies, the more damage that they're going to deal. So here's an enemy who hasn't got spores on. We kill another enemy, right? There you go. It's going to spread to him. And then it just keeps on going from there, right? And he has more armor than these other guys. These guys had their armor reduced by Pillage, but if I just go ahead, use Pillage again, then the armor is reduced and we start dealing more damage to the enemies. So I see a lot of people like they critique builds where Corrosive Projection is present in the aura for a SARYN build, for example. As long as you're not totally stripping away the armor, you still get the bonus damage from the 1, right? Because Spores is corrosive damage, which is bonus damage versus Ferrite. So you can still reduce the enemy armor. You just can't completely strip it away, and you still get the bonus damage out of it, right? Hopefully that makes sense. So let's spawn in more of these guys here. There we go. So we Toxic Lash, shoot the guy. That's going to spread to all the other enemies. We can use pillage to register armor. You can use any source to register armor, so corrosive proc, shatter and impact, etc. Just make sure you don't completely strip. And then what else you could do is you can go ahead and press your 4, which is going to apply a viral and deal some damage to all of the enemies, right? So very nice. This also pairs very, very, very well with melees that run condition overload, right? So if I just go ahead and equip the likes of a Nakana Prime, it looks like this in the build with condition overload on here, and this is 80% melee damage per status type affecting the enemy. So you have corrosive in the 1, toxin in the 3, viral on the 4, so that is free already, and then you have slash on your melee, which is very nice. Hopefully you're running a weeping wounds build, blood rush and all that there, good stuff. Basically the build that I just had in my Nakana Prime there, and that is going to deal a ton of damage to all of the enemies. Let's just go ahead and spawn all of them in here. There we go. We jump in. If you're using the build to a T, you use your pillage, have your toxic lash, apply your thing there, use your viral maybe, and then just start meleeing, and you'll deal a ton of damage to all of the enemies that are affected by all of your abilities, right? They just die literally within seconds of you starting to melee them, you know? So really crazy frame, really just insanely good for killing tons of enemies. And of course, like, that's not even take into the consideration the fact that you have Prime Sure-Foot equipped, right? So you can go ahead and just go into the air with your Kuvazar, start blasting at the enemies that way, and enemies are just going to die left, right, and center, you know? This build scales pretty well, so you could take it into like super high level missions, and you'll just do you'll do absolutely fine, right? Like, you're not gonna not kill enemies pretty much. The only other thing that I could maybe recommend is bringing the likes of a Vastalok with Shatter and Impact to completely armor strip the likes of a Demolist, for example, right? Like, if you're really struggling to kill a Demolist, you could use Shatter and Impact to strip the armor off of them, and then use a Kuvazar build that looks a little bit like this, just to, one shot them in the head and stuff like that. So yeah, that is SARYN. Absolutely insane frame. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I could really recommend. Maybe Epitaph to apply even more viral procs if you wanted to. Pair it with, slash procs with 100 editions and melee and stuff like that. But I think that is pretty much it. So thank you guys for checking out this video. Like the video if you liked it. Check me out at Twitch, twitch.tv/iflin. Subscribe for more Warframe content, and I will see you guys in the next video.